Yes, folks, welcome to the Fundamental Wisdom Podcast, episode 12, with your host, Coach Bart K. On this podcast is where we ask the questions that you want the answers to and discuss ideas in order to help you level up to your highest self. We have practical discussions to help you journey in ascending physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. And on this podcast, I'm very honored to be joined by a very special guest from the US, man that is truly awake, not woke, a viral TikTok sensation, a spiritual and thought leader and successful business owner, Mason Kuhr. Mason, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, feeling nice and awake today. So let's rip this thing.
No
I'm
way, that
excited.
is good. So
Yeah.
it is the morning for you in the US right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's about 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Sweet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
you guys
got
don't have the AM PM over there, so
of course we do. Well, it depends on where you are, but yeah, of course I understand. Don't worry, don't worry.
I get it.
What have you got up to this morning? You finished a leg workout, is that what you said?
Yeah, did some mobility focused movements. So a lot of people in the fitness space neglect the mobility and the energy side of things, and that's really what my expertise is. So I come from an athletic background. I played football in college, and so I've always incorporated the lifting with the movement and the aggression and all that stuff. And it's like, if you focus on one, sure, you'll get some results, but if you want to become a weapon, you want to bring it all together. And at the end of
Mm.
the day, you want to train to elevate your energy anyway and raise your vibration because we're training for life. At least I am. Right. And so that's why I love athletic training, all the movement stuff. You get that energy flowing and start bringing your universe together and magnetizing your ideal reality.
Dude, what a way to crush your morning. 10 a.m. and you got this out the way, so I already know you're gonna have a beautiful day ahead.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
that's super important what you said there as well, because so many people, just go to the gym, but the gym inevitably makes you stiff if you're doing, you're just doing the same repetitive movement over and over and over again without like stretching that out and doing any mobility work. You get stiff,
Mhm.
which is not what you want when you're, focused on like the longevity side of things. But anyways, Mason, first question I want to ask you about your zero to hero story, that whole journey and arc, you going from, I believe I saw you saying that you were in your parents' basement and just kind of broke and not doing too good with life, to obviously, now being a viral TikTok sensation and running Stampede Network. And I know you've done a crazy amount of sales with that. It's going very well. So how did that look like for you?
So where to start? Um, so I will say there was a 2 year period after I left football in college where I was lost. This is the same story I bring on all the time, but I'll start it. I was lost in college, right?
Mm.
For a period of 2 years after going through an ego death, all types of stuff, didn't know who I was. Right. And so in that time period, I really found myself just pleasure seeking like crazy, chasing that cheap dopamine rush to feel good, all that stuff. Serotonin getting trashed. My gut microbiome was awful. I was eating like a pig, just chasing hookup after hookup, just things to distract myself from actually sitting down and quiet, listening to my mind and learning how to transcend it through things like meditation and awareness and all that stuff. And so there was that couple year period where I was just really like this shell of
Mm.
a man. And there's finally one day where I'd had enough and like gotten to the point where I started questioning everything so much. I looked in the mirror and I decided it is time to make a change. I'm done with this. Like I'm tired of who I am. I don't like who I am. I need to make a change because I don't want to be this person for the rest of my life. And so started the self-improvement journey, made a crazy transformation in like 12 weeks. Long story short, built out a TikTok after some guy in the gym came up to me and he's like, "Dude, you look like you could be on TikTok." Oh, we get the cat coming in.
Dude, there's so hold on one second. Keep going, keep going.
So, so guy in the gym came up and is like, "Oh, you look like you could be on TikTok." It's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I'll film you if you want me to." It's like, I can't pass that offer up. So, got this guy kind of pushing some fitness TikTok content of me. Had one finally hit, quote unquote. It was like 4,000 views at the time. I thought I went viral. And this thing was about brown adipose fat tissue. And so it was like this super niche thing, but it's something I knew about. And so that's when I had this realization. I was like, oh, people actually want to listen to me for me and my knowledge and all that stuff. So that's when I really doubled down on the authenticity side of the brand, um, voicing my opinion, things like that. And so basically, yeah, scaled that up for a couple months. I was graduating college. I knew for a fact I was not going to work for anybody. That's just not what I'm not good at it. Been can't do that shit. I've way too much control in those situations. So I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody. I got to find my own thing. I'd been drop shipping on and off for like 3 years at that point. Got banned off of Facebook ads for like a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
A whole different story. And so I was like in this period of limbo again. But during that time, looking back, I'm very fortunate because I was able to try every single business model and I learned the fundamental knowledge and skills that apply to all of them. And when I finally brought my brand together after moving back home with my parents, starting out with like coaching, all this stuff, not really liking that, I decided, you know what, it's time to get back into e-commerce and build a brand up. And so from that period of time where I had all these different side hustles I was doing, brought all those skills together, put up a website, had this vision of these horses running together. I wanted to create a movement, right, around self-improvement, because that's what I noticed from my journey is that self-improvement is lonely. So let's make something where it doesn't have to be, right? And so created the Stampede Network around that vision and holistic wellness, consciousness optimization, all these things I care about. Put out some programs, absolutely bombed on selling them for months, right? And so it was about, I'd say 7, 8 months in my parents' basement, losing my mind, staring at the same wall, trying to figure out how I'm going to do anything. And then, you know, I realized one day finally after enough struggle that I wasn't selling what people actually want, which was my first big, huge perspective shift. And so I knew what that meant. I knew it was going to be supplements, right? And I did not want to accept that new identity. There was nothing inside of me that wanted to be a supplement guy. At the time, I had completely different perspective of what it was. And so there was, I mean, I found a source for the bee bread. I found this thing online. I was like, oh, this is weird. It looks pretty cool. It's holistic. It's natural, clean, nothing synthetic in it. Got some of it in, loved it, ended up putting it on the site, but then I hesitated for like 3, 4 weeks after getting it on the site. I just did not want to sell this thing. And so there's finally one night I had like $500 left in my bank account, December 4th of 2021. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, why am I not getting anything? It's been, some ladies had a baby in this time period, and I haven't even gotten a single dollar. So something's up here. And I was like, what am I doing? And so I'm scrolling on TikTok at like 9 at night, something like that. This video of David Meltzer pops up, big entrepreneur, and he's talking about how he's having a conversation with his mom. He's like, Mom, I give so much all the time, but I never get anything back. Like, what am I doing? And she's like, David, you have to be open to receiving. Tell God, the universe, that you're open to receiving. And that was this light bulb moment. And I was like, I'm not open to receiving. And so that was the first time I really was like in bed at night, and I'm like, shit, I got $500 in my bank account. Let's make something happen. So it's like, God, creator, source, listen, I am willing to do whatever I'm here to do. I'm here to fulfill my purpose. Just give me a sign, give me some sort of abundance so that I can carry this out, because I'm losing my mind and this is horrible. And so it was kind of a pleading thing in a way, which normally I would not approach it like that, but it was one of those moments. And so on that note, I put my phone to bed, wake up the next morning, and this bee bread's right next to me. right? And I get this intuitive urge. It's like, go film it right now. So I pick up this thing, I put on my hoodie and my underwear, and I walk in my bathroom, right? And I have this bead bread in front of me, and I just take a 1-minute video talking about it, and then saying, oh, I'm going to be releasing it next week on my site. Posted, didn't think much about it, right? And on my website, I thought I had like a pre-order list, but that's where the story gets crazy. So I throw my phone because I couldn't believe that I had just become the guy who has supplements. I was like, oh my God. All right. So I'm sitting on this couch. And if you're familiar with Shopify, there's a ding,
Of course.
the Shopify ding, right? And so 5 minutes after posting that video, I hear this ding. And I'm like, I haven't heard that in a long time. So I go over to my phone, I pick it up, I check it out. I'm like, oh my God, someone bought the bee bread. And I had accidentally opened it up. I didn't have a pre-order on it. So someone had just purchased it. I was like, no one else is going to do that. It's kind of weird. So put my phone down. 5 minutes later, I hear another ding. What?
Wow.
Okay, interesting. Put it back down. I'm like, this happens again. There's something up. And I hadn't looked at the video at this point. 5 minutes later after that, dude, there's 2 dings. It's like, ding, ding. I'm like, what is going on? And so I look at this video. It was already at like close to 10,000 in like 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, this may actually do something. I put it down, brother. 5 minutes after that, it was like a money printer. It was just like rolling. And I'm watching all of these orders come in. I can't even look at it. Right. It's like when you're on the highway and you're watching all these cars fly by you and you're like, can't even process it. That's what it looked like. And so I'm watching this video. In a single day, this thing had over 1 million views, sold out the store 10 times over.
Wow.
I didn't even have enough units in stock to fulfill. And so I had to make a call. I was like, well, I either let this thing run and we generate like $150,000 in a day, or I cut it off where it's at, fulfill what we have, replenish, take the rest as like pre-orders. And so I went the second one because I knew I wasn't going to fulfill for like 3 months if I did the first option. And so, yeah, man, really just that was the moment that opened my eyes to there's some divine guidance that's connected to us, and if we follow it, it leads us to the promised land. And used all that momentum. All I really needed was some cash flow to use that momentum. I knew how to build a team. I knew how to scale it. I knew how to automate the systems. I just needed a little bit of jet fuel in there. And so that was it. And from there, just started scaling everything up. Spark added that video, hired a team, all that stuff, just been scaling since. And yeah, we crossed the 7-figure mark in about a year and 3-4 months max.
Dude, what an insane story. Like, there's so many lessons there. Going from like young Mace, chasing pleasure constantly, which inevitably led to pain, to then that pain fueling, this massive change. And you said you had ego death. Can I ask, was that like substance assisted, or did you just melt your brain by constantly seeking dopamine and living like completely the wrong way? How did that ego death happen?
So when I say ego death, I want you to think of this. So imagine you grew up your entire life identifying with external things, right? So I was always Mason, the football player, or Mason, the wrestler, or the athlete, or this and that, without actually knowing who Mason was at a soul level, right? And always getting that reward for being this certain identity, being really good at being an identity, being really good at being a football player, right? So for 19, 20 years, who's Mason? Right? Mason's just a football player. That's who I was. That's how I played football. That's what I said. Like, that's who I was my whole life, right? And so when I had like this value and culture issue with the team, and literally coach butted heads and it separated, in one day, I mean, imagine like your entire perception of yourself is just like wiped, gone. And so in the moment, I felt like really cathartic because there's something inside of me that's pulling me away from it too. But so, I mean, basically my entire concept of who I was gone, right? And so there was no substance in it. There's nothing. It was just a pure destruction of who I am. Like that was it. Like who I perceive myself as, I'd never actually perceived myself as anything under that. And so I didn't even know how to conceptualize that I was anything other than a football player. It didn't even register. And so there was that. And then I also had a girlfriend at the time, went through a breakup with that because I was just like so angry at the world. And that was a double slap because I was like, well, now every part of me that I've known is just gone. So what am I? And that's when it was like it's so hard to describe because it was just this period of asking questions to things I didn't even know what to ask about, right? Like what am I even doing? Why am I here? And I didn't even know what my concept of I was. And so you can imagine when you're like in this dark abyss, almost like what's the place called where people go while they wait to go to like heaven or hell in Christianity?
Uh, the
Limbo.
Rapture?
Limbo.
Limbo?
Yeah, I
Limbo.
was in limbo, dude. It was the weirdest thing ever. And so, I mean, when you're in that spot, you try and like feel something. You try and do something. And so, I mean, I started drinking like crazy. I was drinking a handle a weekend, like 1.75 milliliters or liters.
Wow.
And I ended up, dude, I was so identity attached and so ego attached. I'd actually made a brand around partying and drinking to justify my own existence. Looking back, I didn't even know. Right. So like this brand was called Down to Darty, and Darties are day parties. And so I was like making this whole party brand for people to be a part of. And so I could like just party all the time and do something with it. And so there was always this like entrepreneurial undertone to it. And I drop shipped for a little bit in that time period, but I was like, looking back, I was just creating a new identity for myself. And that's where I really like kind of learned the art of identity creation and all that stuff. But it didn't fit my true self, and it was hollow, and it messed me up internally. My testosterone dropped so low, dude, because I was just like depressed all the time. Estrogenic substances, estrogen's like crazy. Diet was horrible. Like I was eating garbage every single night, seed oils. Like I had no comprehension of any of this stuff. And I was just looking for that escape, dude. And it wasn't until I finally like allowed myself to sit 2 years into that crap, which flew by the way, because I wasn't even really here. It was like complete dissociation. Hard to describe. Um, but yeah, ended up just first of all sitting with my thoughts, getting some movement in my life, raising my vibration of my body, getting the nutrition fixed up, right, which gave me that mental clarity, and using all that momentum to skyrocket everything else. So it was a weird time, man.
Dude, but I feel it's a mandatory prerequisite to a spiritual awakening. You have to go through number one, ego death. Number two, what I would say is the dark night of the souls, where
Yeah.
you can almost say that your soul has left your body and now you're soulless. You have to find that meaning and your soul again, which is, proven by you to the T, like it's exactly what you went through. And then ask and you shall receive. You ask for the answers, you got the answers, and all of a sudden you found yourself, you found the identity. And then another thing is, you said that you tried so many different things, and I imagine that you failed at a lot of them, except for, obviously Stampede and your own personal brand, which is so massive because people nowadays are afraid of trying new things.
Yeah.
And I like how you said it, that everything before that you've tried and failed at is now coming into what you're doing now and what's working now. So, that is absolutely massive. And then, you saying that you didn't want to be a supplement guy, but inevitably just kind of clenching your fist and saying, you know, fuck it, I'm gonna do this, pressing that button, recording that, whatever, and it's worked out for the best. So, dude, there's so many lessons. There's so many lessons, like lessons on lessons. So
For sure, man. And yeah, with like the supplement thing, it was like the light bulb moment was for me was like I don't have to do it like everyone else. I can do it with what I believe. And so that's when I stepped into like the natural, clean, actual things that are meant to be consumed route. And yeah, and like in terms of the failure stuff, I don't even think of them as failures, like because we really can't fail unless we quit. And so I had quit what I was doing because looking back, it wasn't actually aligned with me. And alignment is everything, right? And so it's like if we have to convince ourselves to keep doing it, like if it feels like a drag to actually do something, it's probably not aligned for us, right? If it's actually aligned to you, there's always hard elements of it and learning curves, but it's like if it's naturally aligned to you, you're gonna just do it. That's how making content was for me, right? And this podcast for you, right? And so it's like when we actually align to something that's meant for us, it really doesn't become work, and you can't fail because you don't even have the thought of quitting. Like it's like why would I quit something that energizes me? It doesn't make sense.
That's huge, man. That's huge. That's a good way to think about it. Now, Mace, I have a question for you, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to correlate a lot with what we said about your own personal journey. But, you know, we're both young men. I'm a bit younger than you, but I see guys nowadays exactly in that same position that you were in just a few years back, you know, just in this perpetual state of man searching for meaning. And, you know, a lot of men are stuck in this where they just chase dopamine, chase instant pleasure, chase instant gratification through vices, through addictions, through things they shouldn't be watching, 18 plus stuff, through that nicotine, through going out and partying. And, you know, the years fly by. And then within 2 years, 2 years has passed and they've done nothing. You know, maybe they've started a party brand or whatever. But if a young man is listening to this right now and he's stuck in that phase, just searching for meaning, I know you mentioned like meditation, for example, but what are some other things that can really, you know, help get that push and find, you know, your truth and find some sort of meaning in this world?
Glad you asked because I have a 5-step purpose formula. And so before we even get to that, I will say this. Men today are asking too much for permission outside of themselves. We're asking for permission to be a savage. We're asking for permission to speak our truth. We're asking permission to just be who we are. And it first needs to start with giving yourself permission and granting yourself your own authority over your life and realizing that you as the man are created sovereign in the image of God and you have the ability to create whatever you want. There's not another man on earth that can give you permission to do something. And so when you can radically look in the mirror and tell yourself that, and it's okay to get pissed off with it, allow yourself to feel those emotions that you've been suppressing, you'll stop trying to escape things and do things that people want you to do, and you'll do what actually aligns with you. All right. And so give yourself permission, first and foremost, to commit. Say, I am going to choose to lead my life in accordance to my soul in the direction of nothing other than the creator and what's guiding me. I don't have to listen to another man. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter how much clout they have. Those help. That gives me knowledge, but I don't have to listen to them. I can make the choice. Right. And so again, get back to that place of give yourself permission. Now let's get into the formula. All right. So first and foremost, what we need to do as men is if we want to make the change, and this all comes from personal experience, is we have to raise our vibration because we vibrate at a atomical level, right? And an atomic level, whatever the word is. And so we will resonate with the ideal reality we want as we raise our vibration. Two vibrational matches naturally attract. That's how the universe works. And so we have to raise our internal vibration because of the law of correspondence, as above, so below, saying we are the universe and the universe is us. All right. And so I'd recommend every single man or woman listening to this, study universal laws and read something like the Kabbalion. It will change your life. These things are also hidden in the Bible. It's just behind parables. And so, again, start raising your vibration. How do we do this? Well, number one, we want to get our nutrition in check. Why? Why, Mason? What does this have to do with me figuring out my truth and making money? Well, here's why. Because what's the one thing we all need or else we die? Food, right? Okay. So what is the number one motivation for every man or woman on earth? Food. All right. So we're going to first learn how to take control of those urges and increase the vibration of our food. So this is where we start implementing a clean, holistic diet and lifestyle. And people jump way too into it and try to just cut things out immediately. Here's what I'd recommend is I would say transmute what you eat into something else. So for example, if you're going out eating like burgers at McDonald's all the time, start just making a burger at home, a healthier version, right? And so you're going to start growing this willpower and this discipline to start making these natural shifts in consciousness and holistic living. And what happens is when you light this little spark of awareness, it's going to ignite into a fire on its own, because once you start it, it can't stop. Right? This thing, like, awareness is infinite. So this fire is going to infinitely grow. And so we start with this nutrition. We get the diet on check. That's step one. After that, because that'll give you some clarity of the mind, allow you to make better decisions, because if you can control your food and your urges, you can control anything. We now step into the fitness side of things, right? And so we lift for so many reasons. We work out for different reasons, and, got hormone health, to lose weight, all that stuff. But what's really happening is, again, with this law of vibration and law of correspondence, as we move more our body, we continue to move our atoms. We raise the vibration of our atoms. That's why you see, like, people who are so successful, they move so fast. It's crazy. You can imagine everybody is like an atom, or like, water going from like ice is super slow to water is a little faster. And then you got gas, which is just crazy. And it's almost infinite, right? And so that's what we're doing in our bodies. You can almost imagine yourself like that. And so at step 1 and 2 is you go nutrition to fitness. What this fitness is going to do is, again, it's going to naturally lead you into step 3, which is working on your mind and the meditations and all that stuff. Because as you learn how to go through the discipline and the consistency of building your body, you're going to transcend the mind. You have to get results. It's the only way. You learn how to control the mind. And so this is a natural form of meditation. And so when you naturally start to meditate, you're going to have this urge to explore it even deeper. I mean, you notice, like, all these people who start in the holistic wellness and fitness space, they end up going into spirituality, every single one, because you're naturally going up the scale of consciousness. And so it's like this formula works for everybody, because it's the only way to actually elevate yourself. It's the only real way. And we're going from physical to mental to spiritual. And so once we enter this like meditative phase, which is step 3, and by the way, this 5-step purpose formula is broken down into 2 halves. So the beginning 3 steps are self-actualization. The second half is self-transcendence. So it's like Maslow only got it half right. We got to flip the pyramid upside down, because what happens when the pyramid's upside down? It constantly expands forever, right? There's no cap, right? And so that's self-transcendence. This is where you start finding fulfillment. And so you raise that vibration from nutrition to fitness to spirituality, and that gives you awareness, right? And so now what do we do to self-transcend? Well, step 4 is we use that new awareness to figure out what is energizing us in the next year. What are some things that have energized us when we were kids? Things we did. For me, for example, I loved athletics. I always made experiments with just random substances. I loved horses. My nickname was the Mustang.
Mustang.
Yeah, I always made videos, loved making content, right? And so it's like, if you look at my life now, I'm the same person, just grown up. I'm doing exactly what I did as a kid and what I loved, right? So it's like you have these clues to what you really like to do that you did as a kid naturally when you weren't thinking about responsibility. And so now in step 4 is where you double down on whatever that is. You develop that skill. If you're inclined to write, you double down on writing. If you're inclined to speak, you do that. Inclined to make content, do that. Music, building a business with a certain vehicle in mind. For example, like, you may be energized by the thought of money. You want financial freedom. Okay. So what is the best route for you? Which one energizes your mind the most? Is it sales? Is it digital marketing? Is it copywriting? Content? Find your avenue that resonates with you. That's what awareness is going to help you do. And you can tell by when you feel excited. It's that simple. So it's like if you're doing it and you're like, oh God, this sucks. Like I hate accounting. Right. So that's why I outsource it. For me, I love to make content. I love when I get on this roll, like right now, I'm flow state.
Yeah.
And so, that's how you have this sign, like where are you in the flow? So that's step 4. And then step 5, the most beautiful part is you give your truth and who you are to the world using that vehicle that you found out in step 4. So this is where you truly just amplify your voice, start living in your truth, start communicating your story and sharing yourself. And it's literally that simple. Like everything is going to start to magnetize to you from that point. Right. And so that's where things become limitless. And fulfillment comes down to 3 things. I heard this from one of my favorite business mentors. His name's Myron Golden. Worth the watch will change your perspective. But he said fulfillment comes from 3 things, and that is creation, connection, and contribution, the 3 C's, right? And so if you follow this formula, what are you doing? You create yourself, you connect to yourself, and you contribute to your own growth. What happens when you flip the triangle or pyramid? You create something, you connect it with others, and you contribute to the world. And so this is the formula to find your life's purpose because it creates fulfillment within yourself and outside you. And it's flawless. If every person on earth followed this, our world will be radically different. And that's my goal.
That is a beautiful formula, I must say. Dude, I'm smiling from ear to ear. That is an amazing system that you've come up with. I love the way, your take on flipping the pyramid and that it makes it limitless and infinite compared to, having it like this with the tip on the top. That is absolutely beautiful. And so, yeah, wow, that's a lot of value for the listeners. Now, what I want to touch on is the more sinister side of things. So I know that you said that you tried to numb your pain by drinking alcohol a lot, for example. And I know that when you are stepping into this and you are going through that dark night of the souls, that there can be a lot of vices holding you back. For example, obviously one of them is alcohol, other addictions, hitting that jewel, that nicotine pod, other things that you shouldn't be watching. Now, I want to ask you, when you start implementing this 5-step plan, do those things kind of just seem to fade away, or is there certain steps that you need to take? For example, how did you let go of alcohol?
They do fade away. And honestly, I think this is what it is too. Those vices almost act as like the shield of resistance from the truth. Because pleasure is not true. It's just sensory. And so real fulfillment comes from within. And so what happened for me is I was drinking so much. Like I have been, very like all or nothing type person. So when I did it, I was all the way in. Like, dude, I was not letting up. And so what we resist persists. Right. And so eventually you get to this point where you're like trying to put this wall up of drinking and this truth is just beating it. And eventually, like the truth is so strong, it is going to Mike Tyson that thing down, bro. And, there was that point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I think you hit a wall naturally where it's like, I just can't. I can't. Right. And so it's like, that's why we either make the decision to change consciously or we just feel so much pain that we have to stop naturally. And it's like, that's the thing is we're always told, oh, make the conscious decision to change before the universe makes you. I'm trying to think of one person who actually made the conscious decision to change before the universe makes them. And so we really are motivated by pain so much. It's like, allow yourself to feel that pain that you're avoiding the truth. And eventually it's going to scream at you in the face. Just sit down and shut up. And yeah, it pulled me at least away from it. And so this is very controversial and counterintuitive advice. I would say, listen, if you're pleasure seeking right now, I want you to fully commit to pleasure seeking to the point that you burn yourself out from it. Because although it is horrible, what's going to happen is you're going to also train yourself to fully commit on this scale of like pleasure versus long-term satisfaction. And so you're going to at least get yourself out of this neutral area where you can polarize yourself to fully commit to something so that when it finally does hit you that it sucks, you know how to do it to the opposite side. So it's almost like pulling a slingshot back. You think about it.
Yeah, dude, that's a super interesting take, rather than focusing your energy on, oh, I need to quit this vice or I need to stop doing this. That's putting the energy in the wrong place because you're still thinking about it. So either just be a man about it, either completely let go and focus on other things or go 100% into it, see how you end up and learn your lesson. That's a nice way of doing it. That is a nice way of doing it. Right. So we're about 2/3 in. I want to switch up the topic just a little bit now. Let's say someone has all the bases covered, but they're still missing that like holistic side of things when it comes to their health. So for example, let's take your standard traditional gym bro, we go gym and this and that, and then on the weekends he goes and parties. What does holistic health mean to you? And what are some things that you've implemented to aid, your journey delving deeper into holistic health?
So holistic health is saying basically that health is you connecting to the whole. So it's everything, right? So it's not just we go gym all the time, right? Like you got the nutrition elements of it, because if you don't have that on lock, your performance is going to suck. And it's like, food is really the paint, that fitness is the paintbrush too. And so it's like, you can't make a masterpiece if you don't have any good paint, right? And so you can paint all day long, but you're painting air if there's no good paint there, right? And so you got to get the nutrition on lock. And then we neglect all the natural elements of things. We work out inside all day. Do you go out in the sun? Probably not. Americans spend 90% of their lives indoors. That's an absurd statistic. Did you know that?
Is that real?
It's real. You can look it up.
90%. That's ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so we wonder why everyone's depressed or anxious and all this stuff. You're not getting testosterone production. You're not getting out in the sun. I mean, it's going to mess up your circadian rhythm. So that affects your sleep, right? And then we sit there on our phones at night blasting blue light, which is messing up our melatonin release. And so it's like, I can get into all this all day, right? But the overarching fundamental principle is this: start looking at these little things you do and see how they bleed into different aspects of your life. And at the same time, think, how would I live my life if I was deeply connected to nature instead of deeply connected to mankind? Right? So once you start to do that, you can start to look for ways that are more naturally aligned. And natural alignment is the name of my whole game. Getting people back to this state of spiritual connection to the world around us, to nature, and really empowering our spiritual health first and foremost. And so that is the fitness, the nutrition, meditation, the sunlight, getting all these xenoestrogens and toxins out of the water, doing some cold exposure to boost your dopamine levels, take control of your mind. And so there's just so many different connections to it. But yeah, just really start to try and naturally align yourself and get away from man-made things as much. Man has no idea what we're doing.
A funny way to put things. I said this on my podcast earlier today, but we're more connected than ever, in the sense that we're all online, we're all talking to each other online, we all have a bunch of followers, but we're more disconnected than ever nowadays, right? From nature and the natural way of living, spending 90% of our time indoors. That is absolutely ridiculous. You know, there's no wonder that we're sicker than ever and obesity's on the rise year after year. So
Right.
it's an eye opener there. But just to move away from all of this, dude, I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel as well. And I see that you post a lot of content about the creation side of things as well. So, you know, you building up your brand, how that's going for you. So I want to talk about that. How did Mason Kuhr go from 0 TikTok followers to now, what is it, over like 600K, which is,
Yeah, it's like
so many people.
650 something, I don't even know.
650. That's, you know, that's more than some countries. So that's crazy, dog.
Yeah. How did I get here? Honestly, man, it's like I wish I had a formula for it. Well, I do, but it's super simple. All right. And so it stems from this purpose formula that I shared. And I use my content to amplify my message. And so it's really just like working on those fundamentals of messaging presentation over and over, learning how to capture attention and sustain that attention in a way that is engaging and effectively gets the message across in a simple way that the mass majority of people can understand. And so it's like I try and share my message like I'm in an elementary school. I want it to be fun. I want it to be engaging, get people involved, right? And so, you know, think of this. Um, when we share a message, we could say something, for example, is like, uh, I walked down the street, it was a cold day, versus I walked down the street, it was frigid, snow was coming down. I was everywhere I was going, I was slipping on ice. I couldn't see 3 feet in front of me. I was in a blizzard and I didn't know if I was going to make it out alive. Right. And so you can just add all these like crazy elements to it. And this changes the whole dynamic of the presentation. And it makes this storytelling aspect at the forefront, right? And at the end of the day, people are driven by stories. And so what I want to do is I wanted to share my story of who I am and also share the knowledge I know in storytelling formats so that people can really grasp it and resonate it. But like the root of all of this was just really coming from authenticity and just being myself and overcoming the fear again of asking for permission to share myself with the world and just forcing myself through it. Like at the beginning, dude, I hated it. I was like so locked up in myself and scared to amplify my voice. And it's just this muscle. It's like working out. You got to push it and push it. Eventually get to the point you realize no one cares. No one is even watching it at the beginning. Right. And so it's like we all start at 0 and just push your own authenticity in your message and your opinion and your stories. And eventually you're going to get so good at just sharing the same stories over and over and adding in new ones that's how you get a following, because people can resonate with you and they resonate more with the authentic energy more than anything. Right. There's so many tactics that you can use, but it all comes from this place of energy. And that's why, like, you know, with my creator content, I'm going to start getting more into the self mastery parts of it, because that's what makes you someone who's actually worth following. You have to become someone worth following. People aren't just going to follow you because of the clout and all that. Yeah, sure, you'll get some fake followers. They're superficial. But if you want real followers, you have to be real yourself, because we get what we are. And so coming from that place of truth, authenticity, and improving our own lives, that's the only way that we can do it for others. And so it's like, if you're going to build a following, start there. And that's what I really want to help people do, because I've done all this, like the self-actualization part of my formula, but now it's the time to help people also amplify their voices. And what this is going to do is allow mass change to happen, almost like affiliate messengers. So think of it like that, right? And so if I can get more people speaking truth and living from truth, we can inject more truth into the world. And that's when things will really start to change. It's a really random grand vision, but it inspires me every single day. So
I
that's where we're
would
going.
say far from random, because clearly, you're just a man for the people. You helped yourself, you're helping others through supplementation, obviously, and your coaching and other services. But now you want to help others to help others to help others. Does that make sense? Like, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you mean.
Yeah, man. It's like I know what it's like to be at rock bottom, and I don't want to see anyone else go through that. And I know what it's like to overcome that. And so that brought me fulfillment. And it's a very simple thing. So I know it can bring a lot of people fulfillment. And whatever the creator bestowed into me to find motivation from, that's what it is. And so that's really the overarching goal.
I like how you're open and vulnerable about feeling that like anxiety when you were just starting off, because dude, it can be intimidating just putting yourself out there and putting a phone in front of your camera, or putting your phone camera in front of your face, just taking a video and being open. And you get all these thoughts of, oh, you never know who's listening, or they might think I'm a weirdo, or they don't like the way I look, or my hair looks weird, or whatever. Then once you do it, you dive headfirst into that fear, you eventually realize that nothing bad is ever going to happen. And I know that another thing that you speak about a bit is having no niche, and that niches are bullshit. Can you just expand on that a little?
Yeah. So what is the one thing that you have for the rest of your life? It's your perspective.
You.
It's you. And so the way you see the world, there's only one vantage point that's ever going to be in the world that's unique to you. And that's just your vantage point of the world. It's your perspective. And so if you just seriously share your opinion and your perspective on things, I see things different than Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is like, we can see the same situation. To him, he's going to turn it into a comedic sketch. To me, I'm going to maybe find a way to work out from it. Right. And so it's like your different perspective on the same event is what makes you unique. We ask why we follow certain people who share certain info. We say, I resonate with this person or that person, blah, blah, blah. You got all types of entrepreneurs. You got Richard Branson, you got Gary Vee. They all talk about making business and all this stuff. Well, why do we resonate with them? Because of their perspective. We resonate with them because of them. And it's coming from their authentic view of the world. And so it's like, I posted this random story. I posted this random story the other day. I was like, you guys ever think about like why we have ears? Like this random flesh thing is hanging off of our head, and it collects these vibrations that travel into our brain, and we can conceptualize the world around us from something we can't even see. Like that's how I look at things, right? And so people are like, oh, what? I never even thought about that, And so it's like just sharing some random thing, you're actually helping people expand their awareness, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all seeking, is that awareness expansion and transcendence of this ego and this thing we're in. We want to expand. Expansion is growth at the end of the day, right? And so it's like the more of your perspective you can share with the world, the more you increase the awareness of the world. It's that simple.
Now we're coming up on an hour, slowly but surely. So now I want to touch on Stampede Network. So obviously we've covered how the business has started, how it's going. But first off, I want to know, what are some of the products that you offer, and what are some of the reviews that you're getting from these products? Do they work? I know that you have mentioned that, for example, your bee bread did receive backlash for the first couple of weeks and months, people shilling it, but now there's people trying to replicate it, trying to steal the idea because it's something that works. And then obviously, what are some upcoming projects and products, for example, that you have?
Yeah. So we got the Spartan bee bread's our premier one. And so it is known as the food of the gods in ancient Egypt and Greece. Egyptians referred to bee pollen as the dust of life, right? And so what bee bread is basically bees will collect pollen, which if you look at it under a microscope, it's like little glass marbles. And so it's not extremely bioavailable. A lot of people think it is, but it's hard for us to digest. And so the bees will collect this pollen, they'll bring it to the hive, and then they'll put it through this like natural fermentation process. and mix it with honey. And so it like cracks it open, makes it 90% bioavailable. So you got things like glutathione, flavonoids, antioxidants, polyphenols, 240 vital nutrients in there. And so this thing's like an extremely nutrient dense bioavailable substance. And I wish there was a study to figure this out. Like when we can get a clinical study on this, I will. But I'm really convinced it raises the cellular vibration of our bodies. It really does, because there's this thing, I call it the buzz effect. You take it, and all of our users have like reported the same thing. It's just this instant buzz. And because it's so highly bioavailable, and because pollen and honey charge you up so much, it's like this little energy bomb. It's crazy. And you can also use it to break a fast, right? So it's like I'll fast for 2 hours in the day, spike my growth hormone, workout in that time period. After a workout, I'll replenish with this because the honey has the glycogen in it. So I'll replenish my glycogen levels. It also helps you with your sleep because it's got the polyphenols on the antioxidants, helps recovery, muscle growth support, all that stuff. So you can take an hour before bed. It's like, man, I call it nature's miracle food. What I compare it to is like almost an adaptogen, but also mixed with a natural multivitamin at the same time. And so this thing's just extremely powerful, and we're going to be getting into different variants of it. So some more functional ones. So I'll have a sleep focused ones, ingredients not being disclosed yet, but this is going to push you to bed. You're going to have some crazy dreams, energy, all types of stuff. So doubling down on that. And then we also have, which was here, one sec. So we got Awakened pre-workout for the spirit. So this is the first of its kind pre-workout. I saw a huge issue in pre-workout industry. It's just the same ingredients. You got the beta-alanine, the citrulline, all this like caffeine bombs, adrenal gland destruction, synthetic ingredients. You got the asuflame, potassium, sucralose, all types of stuff. And so I was like, well, how do I take a pre-workout, get rid of all the crap, and also make it so it heals your body and does other cool functions? And so I created this pre that is 100% holistic, elevates hormone levels of testosterone, helps dopamine, serotonin, has added minerals in it to replenish, because 90% of Americans are vitamin and mineral deficient too. And so think about this, right? We're choking down coffee every single day, frying our adrenal glands. It's this false sense of energy because it's a cortisol spike, and it's just really shutting off adenosine release, which adenosine is what makes us tired. And so caffeine comes in like the shield, which prevents this adenosine going through that says, oh, you're tired. And so that's why you get this crash when the caffeine wears off, because the adenosine flushes in. And so basically, right, we have this adrenal spike and fatigue in all of these people over here. And we also have a mineral deficiency. And then you got things like coffee, which is a diuretic. And so you're pissing out all the good stuff inside of you. And so it's like people are slowly dying without knowing it. So it's like, well, what if we have something that replenishes the minerals while also doesn't spike your adrenals? So that's why we used ingredients like decaffeine malate, which is more extended release. We have theobromine, which is from cacao. So it's natural from cacao. That boosts your serotonin levels, has natural energy in it. And so these things are just so much better for the body. And it's just truly designed to heal you, right? And so there's never been a holistic pre-workout done by this. We also have bee pollen extract in here. I'll just read you the list, dude. It's crazy. So we got organic beetroot is the base, right? So that's wild. We got alpha GPC, bee pollen extract 4-to-1. We got mucuna, which mucuna is one of my favorite supplements. Replenishes dopamine levels, helps heal your central nervous system, helps elevate testosterone, reduces prolactin release. You got the decaffeine malate, tonga ollie for testosterone support, also amazing for women. Got that theobromine for serotonin, natural energy. And then you got rhodiola rosea, which is an adaptogen. And that also is going to boost your serotonin levels. It's like an upper version of ashwagandha. And yeah, got all those minerals in here. So we got magnesium, got some, let's see, we got some pink Himalayan salt, and then we got some potassium citrate. And then for our sweeteners, it's just crystallized lemon, which is lemon oil, lemon juice, some stevia, a little bit of natural citric acid. That's it. So,
dude, yeah, I gotta say, wow. Because pre-workouts, like you said, are some of the most notorious products on the market. You'll
yeah.
just have the biggest list of garbage, served in this tub that's like meant to make you feel better before a workout. No. I don't use a pre-workout myself. If I was, that sounds like it, to be honest. So yeah,
I'll
no,
hook
dude,
you up, bro.
I'm
I'll take,
impressed.
yeah, I'll take it over to Turkey, bro. This thing it's truly the best. Like I can confidently say this is the best in the game. So
Yeah, sounds like it.
I'm gonna plant that flag. I can say it right now.
If you'd like to try any of the Stampede Network products that Mason has mentioned, head over to the website, TheStampedeNetwork.com, and here you will find anything from ashwagandha to vitamin D3 plus K2, those bee pearls, the awakened pre-workout, that viral product, bee power packs, the bee bread, creatine, anything you like. So add whatever tickles your fancy to your cart, and then use code Coach Bart K in all caps for a nice cheeky discount. That's code Coach Bart K for a discount on the Stampede Network. Now back to the podcast. But yeah, dude, that is massive, right? So we have Awakened, we have the bee bread, and we have the bee pollen extract. Is there anything else right now, or is there anything else coming up?
So we have, yeah, we got all types of stuff. We got bee power packs, which you can put in like Greek yogurt smoothies. It says bee bread, propolis, royal jelly, some of the most nutrient dense and powerful bee products on earth. We have our Olympian Vitality truffles, which have birch chaga mushroom in it, which is loaded in fulvic and humic acid, similar to shilajit. Right. And so that's what those do is basically help you with mineral uptake of what you eat, helps you absorb those minerals better, and also gets rid of all the toxins and stuff that you're consuming, and also helps your gut microbiome. So we have these Olympian Vitality truffles that are a mix of that, natural, just date, and then raw cacao. And so these are super good little truffles that help your gut microbiome. We have all types of stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's funny now because you said you never thought you'd be the supplement guy, but dude, it's so clear that you're so passionate about this and just taking down big supplements and the crap and all this like junk that you don't need that doesn't work. For example, just to go back to the pre-workouts, most of them just make you itchy, and it's just a bunch of caffeine. You get itchy, you get red. And then you feel like crap afterwards. Where's the joy in that? So
Yeah, it's that beta alanine. You don't use that beta alanine. I can't stand this stuff.
not me neither, dude. It's sham, 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 sham. But yeah, dude. Wow, seems like you're changing the game with Stampede Network. And just to wrap this off, we're coming up on just about an hour. How about yourself, Mason Kuhr? Other than helping people to help other people to help other people, what else have you going on? Anything cool coming up?
Just doubling down on this on the Awaken launch. Just building this YouTube up. We will. So anyone who's interested, I'm going to be putting together you may want to come to this too. So putting together some retreats, we're going to start doing some like conscious resets, some primal life force awakening, holistic wellness, as well as learning personal branding, masterminds. So I want to have these internationally different spots. One of them right now we're planning is Bali. And so this is going to be for high performers. So I'm going to obviously limit it to a certain amount of people, but really good way to start helping people amplify their brands too, and living this Stampede methodology, and implementing this purpose formula in a better way. So I'm excited for these. It's kind of funny. It stemmed from I just wanted to take a vacation, so I was like, how can we turn this into something?
Dude, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, just getting together a group of like-minded people and actually not only going to work together, but having a good time as well. It sounds beautiful. And I'm sure I'll see it on your story soon. So, hey, if there's a spot going for me, why not? It sounds incredible.
You're invited, man. You're invited. There's your invite.
Appreciate it, Mason. I'll make sure you keep your word. But yeah, dude, what a jam-packed hour of value. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely, bro. This is amazing.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, once again, I'm speechless. That was amazing, especially that 5-step formula, finding purpose and meaning in life. That is incredible. So yeah, Mason Kuhr, thank you so much. And to all the listeners, thank you all as well. This has been Fundamental Wisdom Podcast, episode 12 with Mason Kuhr.
See you guys.